Hey sports fans, coming to you early. Today's daily dose of salt is about service. And I found a 5K service walk. Looks like there might be a couple thousand of us out this morning raising money for a foundation for a school in Ecuador. And so it got me to thinking about the proximity effect. I'll call it the proximity effect. So, hello, David Stebbins. Most of us in North America, or wherever you are in the world, most of us, not everybody watching me, but if you're in a developing country, maybe not. But if you're in a developed country, your standard of living is pretty decent. If you live in North America or Europe, it's probably really good. So, if you're a typical American, you make about $50,000 a year. You've got an iPhone that costs $800 to $1,000. You got a car that costs $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You got a home that costs $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000. You go to Starbucks, right? You got a pretty good lifestyle. And you don't think, because of proximity, about people that are less fortunate. And so maybe you see something on TV about, send money, help the poor. You probably don't do anything about it. It's probably smart because the admin fees of organizations that advertise for money are typically 50 to 80 to 90%. So they're just using all those donations for their own lifestyle. But if you could find an organization that donated 100% of your money to the people in need, well, that's an organization worth donating to. So here's the proximity effect. And I'm going to explain it to you in the form of a story. So, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, probably 20 years ago, I was in Tampa, Florida, and I just finished a 3-day leadership event. And I was single at the time. And I noticed something odd about my calendar. I looked at my calendar, and I didn't have anything scheduled for the next 2 weeks. I didn't have to be anywhere. Now, this is pre-internet, pre-everything. So the way you did business was you got in your car, you got on a plane, and you went and saw people. I didn't have any events. I didn't have any place I had to be for the next 2 weeks. So I had been reading about Cuba. Fascinated with Cuba, just the culture. Something about Cuba called to me. And I had been reading. It might have been online. There might have been internet back then, because I do remember about me reading it online. And I booked my ticket online, so I guess there was internet. So I'd been reading about how to get to Cuba because everybody in the United States thought it was illegal to go to Cuba. And what I read was, well, it's not actually illegal to go to Cuba. What's illegal is spending American money in Cuba. So this article, this website, I don't remember what it was, told me how to get to Cuba, which is basically you got to buy your ticket through a Canadian travel agency with a Canadian credit card, which I happen to have because I had a subsidiary business in Canada. And the reservation, the ticket is not the airline ticket. It's the hotel, because you got to have a hotel reservation or they won't let you in. You can't say, I'm just coming in and I'm going to wander around Cuba. They won't let you in. You have to have a reservation at a hotel, or you have to have a confirmation that you're staying with friends that live there. So I got a hotel reservation through the travel agent. I flew to Nassau, the Bahamas, walked down the hallway, paid cash to, I think it was Havana Airlines, got on this old Russian airliner that was probably 50 years old, and flew to Havana. And, the story of me being in Havana is a different story, a little longer story, but suffice to say this. I made friends there. I was there a week by myself. I went back 3 other times and took people with me. so fascinated. But here's the proximity effect. I was in proximity to people that were in fear of their lives. I could be in somebody's home at midnight, because I did a lot of that. I met people and I went to their homes and I ate with them and I interviewed them and I would ask them, what do you think about Fidel Castro? And they would lower their voice and lower their head in their own home in fear of their life. And my best friend, Antonio, that I met, he'd already been to prison twice for escaping, a year in prison for every day he was at sea trying to get out of Cuba. But here's the point. In close proximity to these people that made the equivalent of $30 a month, US, that had nothing. I mean, nothing compared to us. I felt an irresistible urge to give people everything I had. I even had this fantasy of, I'm going to sell everything I have and I'm going to move to Cuba and I'm just going to give everything to these people because they just don't have anything. And, if you bring this up to a more like this 5K, what's this about? This is raising money for a school in Ecuador. You can sponsor a kid. It's $150 a month. These are kids that live on farms and live in rural Ecuador. And without this school, it's a private school, who knows what their lives will end up being. But what that $150 a month buys is an education through 12th grade in this private school. And the school graduates 100% of their students. They have 0% dropout rate. 80% of the kids go on to college. This is a life-changing school for $150 a month. And so here's the proximity effect. If you ever went to the school and met the kids, if you happen to meet the kids that are in the waiting line, which right now there's 1,000 kids on the waiting list to get in that need sponsors. They come from rural farms. They walk to the school, but there's 1,000 within walking distance that want to get in this school. But it's $150 a month. You got to pay the teachers. It includes their meals every day. And the proximity effect is that if you don't know these kids, if you're not there, $150 is like, nah, doesn't matter. I can't help. I can't, right? You know what I mean. But if you're there, oh my gosh, your pockets are inside out. You sponsor as many kids as you can. Proximity effect. So today my message is, when it comes to service, when it comes to your abundance, when it comes to other people, just imagine you were in close proximity and see how that changes your view and your perspective and your generosity. And that's what I have to say in Daily Dose of Salt Lake City this morning. I'll see you tomorrow.